Hi guys, UK Guns here. So in this video I'm going to be giving you a brief introduction to the Kral Arms XPS shotgun. This is a 12 gauge magazine fed section 1 shotgun. If you're not sure what section 1 shotgun is, I have made other videos about different types of firearms and stuff in the UK, so you can go ahead and check that out if you like. But essentially it's a shotgun that doesn't have a restricted capacity. So most shotguns in the UK are restricted to a 2+1 capacity. It means two rounds in like a magazine tube and then one in the chamber. To have more than that capacity, so an unrestricted magazine tube or indeed magazine fed, as this one is, that's a section 1 shotgun, which comes on a firearms certificate in the UK rather than a shotgun certificate. I'm looking at making a video soon about the different types of firearms and shotgun certificates, or licenses as they often get called, that you can get here in the UK. Haven't got around to making that yet, but it is on the list. I will try and make it soon. I know I haven't put out content for a while. You may have seen the video I put up the other day of me shooting this. I'm hoping to put some stuff out in the near future as well. So there's some other bits I've got planned. Now, about this gun itself. I picked this gun up from Caliber Innovations. I have no relationship with Caliber Innovations. I bought this from them as a paying customer. They don't know I'm making this video. But I bought it off them. It was a couple of months ago now. I think I paid around £650, I think, something like that. Or that can be gotten a lot cheaper now, as I understand it. Which, of course, make of that what you will, because I understand that this is a bit of a Marmite gun. Some people love it, some people hate it. And there's probably good reason for both of those arguments. You do have to ask yourself, when it's this cheap and it comes with all the stuff that it comes with, which I'll show you in a moment, you have to wonder what's wrong with it. I can't tell you right now what's wrong with it. So far, my experience of it has actually been quite good. I've only shot it the once. I put a couple of 100 rounds through it of varying different types of shells. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed shooting it, found it a lot of fun, and I was quite happy. But that's one time. I'm not calling this a review because I can't review it at this point. I haven't got enough time behind the gun to fairly review it. So maybe in the future, once I've got a bit more time behind it, I can do a proper review and give you my sort of in-depth thoughts. Now, again, this is just my opinion on all of this. I'm not an expert and I'm not claiming to be. But just my thoughts on this gun if you're looking at getting it, or if you're looking to get into the budget end of the Section 1 shotgun game. Now, I know for a lot of people, like I say, it's a Marmite gun. This is going to be a bit of a split opinion, and I'm sure people will want to disagree with me in the comments. But it's really one of those things, if you're really sort of high up in your game and you want to be a top level practical shooter or something along those lines, then yeah, sure, this gun is probably not for you. It's a budget gun. But if you're looking at, trying out the sport, getting into it, or you're just on a restricted budget and you don't have the option of going for £1,200 or £2,000 race guns, is this a viable option? Well, like I say, I can't say for sure because it's not a review, but I do think it's a good gun. If birdshot, I shot through it. It ran flawlessly. It was really fun to shoot. I enjoyed it. It did everything that I wanted it to do. I did find it struggled with shorter shells. So you'll probably see in the video, I wrongly said it was 65mm slugs. They were actually 67.5mm slugs. The 65s were birdshot that I shot. And both of those, this gun did not like. So the shorter shells, it didn't cycle very well. A lot of stoppages. With the full length regular shells that I was firing, it was pretty flawless. Just one or two maybe stoppages. But other than that, it was usually pretty flawless, including firing fast and slow. And I really enjoyed it. I have to say, it was good fun to shoot. So I certainly don't hate this gun. But like I say, I appreciate it seems a bit too good to be true, because I'll talk about now what it comes with. So for that price, you get two magazines, which is a 5-round magazine, an 8-round magazine. It comes with the riser for the optic to go on. Obviously not the optic, this Hawk optic I added myself, but it does come with this side mount. So you can mount an optic on. It comes obviously with all the Picatinny, the angled foregrip you see here, the Picatinny covers. Strangely, a foregrip / bipod. It has a bipod that sort of pops out the bottom of it. I'm not sure why you would include that with a shotgun. It seems very strange. It's more like something you put on a rifle. I don't know, maybe some of the practical guys could tell me if you would find a use for that. I personally don't see it. I much prefer the angled foregrip. But it came with that free of charge. And also a sling as well, 2-point sling. And a large carry case with wheels and all the rest of it. So it's kind of the complete package, really. Everything that you would want, you know, the stock and everything was all included, and it's already, everything is good to go. So it makes you wonder, for that price, it comes with all this stuff. Like I said earlier, what's wrong with it? I don't know. So far, I haven't seen anything glaring. There's a couple of definitely little nitpicks I'll talk about as I go through this video. I'll try and keep this short and sweet and not drone on for too long. But there are a couple of bits I'm less keen on, and I will tell you about those bits. But overall, I thought it was all right, and I've enjoyed it so far. And I think it looks great. I think it really does look like a very, very nice gun. Pretty tricked out the box, which is nice because you don't really have to spend any money on it, because it has an adjustable stock here on the back, similar to like an AR stock, if you're familiar with those. Has a cheek riser on there as well, so you can really adjust it to fit you nice. It has this sort of ergonomic pistol grip. Now, not everybody likes those because it all depends really if your fingers fit in those grooves comfortably or not. I would have preferred probably a flat grip. But this fits me okay. I don't have any problems with it. It was quite comfortable. But I know not everybody likes those, and I do get why. I don't have any of these types of grips on any of my other guns. I like the sort of flat ones. And then obviously it comes with a side mount for mounting an optic, but it does have built-in a little fibre optic sight on this front rail here. So it does have a fibre optic sort of iron sight that you can use out the box. But obviously it's nice to pair it with an optic. I put this Hawk red dot on here. And then obviously it comes with the angled foregrip as well, which I've got on there, which I do find quite nice. Now this front piece is all metal. This Picatinny piece here is all metal, and that does make it a pretty heavy gun, and a little bit front heavy as well, I have to be honest, especially when you add the barrel shroud. So it has this sort of barrel shroud, sort of a heat shield, I guess. That is removable. You can unscrew it. It takes an age to unscrew it, and the threading is at the end, so I'm hoping there will be muzzle brakes for this thing. I haven't seen any at the moment. I don't think Caliber Innovations have any, but I will keep an eye out. I'm hoping you might be able to get a muzzle brake for this in the future, and then I'll probably would take this barrel shroud off and put a muzzle brake on there instead, because yeah, as I say, it screws on at the end. But otherwise, that's the gun and everything that it comes with. 2 magazines, a 5 and 8 round, but it does take 10 round magazines, and I believe even drum mags. I'm not sure if you'd want to run those anyway, because they're notoriously unreliable. But it does take 10 round box mags as well. Shame it doesn't come with any, but it comes with the 5 and the 8, which is good enough to get going. But I think most practical shooters really want 10 rounds and above. Now, in terms of its controls, they're pretty standard AK with one important addition, which is a manual hold open. So just need to remove the safety catch, and then the bolt, you come back there, and there's a little switch just behind the trigger guard here on the right hand side of the gun, and you push that up and then release your bolt forward slowly, and it holds the bolt open. Now this is a manual hold open, not a automatic hold open, so it functions like an AK the rest of the time, but that manual hold open is nice. I don't know if any competitions require locked open bolts or whatever, but if they do, obviously that's really handy. And also, one thing I did find when I was shooting it is it didn't like having a magazine inserted when the magazine was full and the bolt closed. I found it very difficult to get a magazine in with a full mag and the bolt closed. Now I know that, again, that's not uncommon with some rifles and things, but it was a bit difficult. So I would often lock the bolt back, insert a loaded magazine, and then drop the bolt forward. That said, you probably could, with a bit of practice, do it on a closed bolt. But it's nice to have that as an extra feature. It has this standard AK safety catch there. You just pull it up until it clicks for safe and push it down to take it off. Now, this safety catch, this is one of my gripes with the gun. Maybe this is just my gun, I'm not really sure. I'd love to know if anyone else has one of these, if they have similar problems. But I find the safety catch incredibly difficult to remove. Easy to put on, which is great. Very difficult to remove. It gets sort of stuck on this lip of the opening, the ejection opening, and it really takes a lot of force to force that off. Usually I have to use both thumbs like this and push it down. And obviously that's not ideal, especially in a competition type environment. I did speak to Caliber Innovations about this. They suggested basically bending the safety catch, this piece of metal, sort of bending that in the opposite direction, so up, to try and give it a bit more clearance. I did give it a little bit of a bend, but I didn't want to do it too much and break it, to be honest. So I didn't put too much pressure on it. I did a little bit. It didn't seem to make a difference. Maybe I need to give it another go. But yeah, that's a bit of a bugbear for me because I've used AKs in the past and the safety catch usually pushes off relatively easily. But this one, like I say, usually requires 2 thumbs or 2 fingers to really kind of push it down. And a couple of times it's got so stuck, I've had to use a multi-tool to sort of pry it off. Which again, not ideal, not really what you want. Putting it on though, very easy. Just push it up and it clicks into place. But yeah. The bolt is exactly the same as an AK if you're familiar with one of those, nothing special. And the same with the magazine release. It's rock and lock style mag, so some of these 12 gauge shotguns, the AK style ones, have been adapted to take a magazine similar to an AR where it just clicks in. These are the rock and lock style. Again, that's a bit of a Marmite thing, not everybody likes them. They definitely are a bit finicky and take a bit of getting used to. I wasn't used to that style of magazine and I had a lot of fumbles trying to get the magazine in to begin with. I do think with practice, you'll easily overcome that, but it is a bit of a learning curve, especially if you're used to sort of AR style magazines, which I am. And that's about it in terms of like its controls. Fairly standard stuff, really. Its trigger is nothing special, nothing to write home about, but it's a shotgun. And I found it was pretty good fun to shoot. Like I say, it wasn't overly keen on shorter shells, but I shot birdshot through it, and I shot buckshot or game bore, whatever you want to call it, through it as well, and slug. The game bore, absolutely fine, no problems at all, but I didn't have a lot of them, I only had a few rounds, but it cycled all of them, no problems. And the birdshot mostly was fine, except for those 65mm shells I was talking about. And the slugs, it didn't like at all, but like I say, they were 67.5, I believe, and they were the only ones I had. And it did not get on with them. I had, in a magazine of 5, I was getting maybe 1 or 2 rounds off and then a stoppage and having to keep putting them through like that. So it wasn't great on that side of things. But I had, on the birdshot, I had 100 or so rounds and I shot pretty much all of them with almost no issues. And it was a lot of fun. This gun is fun to shoot. It is heavy, like I said, but it is relatively comfortable. That adjustable stock and things do make it fairly comfortable to shoot, albeit a little on the heavy side and certainly a little bit front heavy because of all this metal that's kind of out here. And of course, being a shotgun, it's got a pretty lengthy barrel on it. And then this shroud, because the muzzle is actually about here, so the shroud comes an inch or 2 further out from the barrel as well. So it's a fairly long gun and a little bit on the front heavy side. So that's about it really for the Kral Arms XPS. As I say, it's not a review because I just haven't got enough time on the gun to be able to call it that, but my initial impression of the gun is good. It's a little bit on the cheap side, but it hasn't felt cheap in terms of everything seems relatively good quality. You look inside when you strip this thing down. I'll probably do a video on how to take this apart. It seems pretty sort of heavy duty on the inside, pretty industrial looking really. Just one other thing I will mention when it comes to stripping it down, this is another bugbear of mine that I do have, in the interest of honesty, is this little plunger on the back. So most AKs, to remove the dust cover, which is what you do to strip it down, you have this plunger that you normally just push in through the back and then lift your dust cover off. Now this gun, and I believe some other 12 gauge shotgun AK style guns have this as well, and maybe there's a reason for it. I don't understand what that reason is. If you know, please by all means leave me a comment. I'd love to know what the thinking is behind this. They've included an additional plunger on the top of this one. So not only do you have to push that in, but you have to push this one down in order to get that in to remove the dust cover. Now taking it off isn't too tricky, but getting it back on is, because when it goes through the hole, the cutout on the back of the dust cover, obviously that top plunger pops back up. So then getting it back through again when you're putting it back together is tricky. Now they do include a tool to help you with this, which is this here, and that's sort of, you use that to press that down and push it in and stuff like that. And that does help definitely, but it's still finicky and it feels really fiddly, and it, to be honest, feels a little unnecessary. Like I say, maybe there is a very good reason for it and I just don't understand that, and if you know what the reason is, I'd love to know. But I'm not a fan of that. I find that a bit annoying for stripping the gun and putting it back together again. So it's really that and the safety catch that are my main issues with this gun at the moment. Like I say, once I get more rounds through it, maybe that'll change in terms of I'll find other issues or what, I'm not sure. But so far, I really can't say that this is a bad gun and that you should avoid it. I would say, you know, it is a budget gun. And, you know, if your budget allows for more, maybe look at something else. Or if you're really, really, you know, wanting to be very serious about Section 1 shotgun and practical shotgun, those kinds of things, maybe this isn't going to be for you. But if you're on a budget or you're just looking at getting into the sport and just want to kind of dip your feet in, test the water as it were, then I personally think this is probably a pretty good shout. So that's the Kral Arms XPS. I will throw in some footage of me shooting it at the end of this video. It's essentially the same as the footage you may have already seen if you've already seen the other video I put up, but I'll put it on the end of this anyway, so you can see what it looks like when I'm shooting it. Thanks for watching.